Hello everyone, and welcome back to another sketchbook session. In this video, I will be designing some fairy OCs and kind of trying to flesh out their story, as well as talking about some thoughts about creating OCs and how important it is, especially now, to make them. I'm also going back to my roots and will be trying out some new watercolors, which is very exciting because I haven't worked with watercolors in a long time. But before we get started, I wanted to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. Your names are on the screen. I really appreciate all your support, and if you're not a patron yet, I would love for you to join my cozy little corner where I share a bunch of sketches and work in progresses, as well as send out monthly prints and sticker rewards. This month's theme is a cute little picnic with my sun and cloud characters, so if any of that interests you, you can sign up down below. Now let's get back to the art. For this video, I will be using Paul Rubens Meilaing watercolor set, which they kindly sent to me a while ago. This set has 52 colors and it's perfect for traveling because it comes with a pencil, liner, and paintbrush that you can store all in the case it comes in. I was super excited when they reached out to me because their sets were actually one of the many brands that I was always eyeing as a fancy set to get eventually. So we can say I was seriously geeking out when they sent me this set, but getting back into my thoughts on it and using them for the first time, it was a lot of setup, obviously, with 52 colors to unwrap and swatch, but it was almost like therapeutic in a way to get it all done. I really appreciated the included swatch sheet that I can also store in the case, as well as the little watercolor sheets that they have in there, which I think would be great if you're on the go and you just kind of want to test out your color, because while I was mixing all of my colors, you cannot really tell how the color looks like in the case. I think that's great that they also included all of those papers in there as well. The colors were all very vibrant, and because of the amount of them, there was very minimal mixing required. With my previous watercolors, I always had to mix this specific shade of green or aquamarine, but this set has all of these already included. Though I will say some colors I felt could have been a little different. For example, there was such a big variety of reds where I felt like some of them were actually the same shade. I wish they would have included some skin tones, which are also some of the hardest to mix in my opinion. I also really like that it came in this metal casing, so you were sliding all of these colors into it. The reason why I really like it is because if you, for whatever reason, you run out of any of these colors, it's gonna be very easy to take them out and you can just replace that specific color instead of, you just not having that color anymore in your set, and you're kind of just have to mix that color again, because all of these colors you can kind of get by themselves. It's like a refillable set, which I really appreciate. Overall, I really do like all of the colors that it came with, especially the greens, and kind of having all of these other browns already mixed together and having it at my disposal, because again, those are usually the colors that I use personally. So having those already mixed out and not having to sit there and kind of figure out what colors I want to do, and then you mix a color out and then you want to mix it again, but then the ratio is not good, so you kind of are not having the same kind of color. It's kind of just like close to it. So overall, I think having 52 colors is actually great, personally, in my opinion. I know for some people it might be a lot of colors and they would say like, oh, it's not necessary. I feel like that's just like, you can just mix these colors, but I do think it's nice to have it on the go and already have these colors created for you. I would highly recommend this set, especially if you're on a budget, because this is more on the affordable side, and I am pretty sure this is just as good quality as all of their other paints. I have used other brands before and I feel like these are just as good as they are. A little bit about my art journey and my experience using watercolor. It was one of the first art media that I became obsessed with and use on a pretty regular basis at the beginning of my professional art career. It was very versatile and, in my opinion, easier to use than any other paints, and worked great with pens and liners, which a lot of us start out using pens and liners like microns and stuff like that. So it really was just a great art media to start out with. It's also relatively cheap if you consider that I can mix basically any color I want while still getting similar results to alcohol markers. I learned so many special techniques that created beautiful results, which aided me in other mediums as well. However, as I kept working on my iPad, digital art kinda overtook my attention and watercolor was sadly put on the back burner. I also never really invested in a nice set of paints before because of that. I felt like it was something that I didn't do anymore and let go of, like, that was 15-year-old me's thing. Watercolor was one of those medias that I seriously used every single day when I was sketchbooking. So this is also kind of was my transition from using traditional media, using my sketchbook on a very regular basis, to kind of going onto the iPad and using the iPad as my main tool of creation. So it was my sketchbook, it was my finished pieces, it was my canvas. So I felt like it would have been a waste of money to spend $50 or $100 on a nice watercolor set when I wasn't using my sketchbook anymore. Not as often as I was using my iPad. Like, I was using my iPad every single day at that point. And it was easy to use it because it had all of the colors on there. It had a bunch of brushes, and I could create whatever size canvas I want to make, and I could just erase and delete all of my mistakes. But as I kept growing as an artist, I feel like I keep feeling more and more nostalgic towards my younger self, who was very carefree, who was creating characters, who was using watercolor in her sketchbook and just drawing every single day and kind of like embracing mistakes. So when you're using digital media, you obviously have all the tools to erase everything and restart and go back and try again multiple times. You can switch your brushes at just a flick of your hand. Like at one click, you can be using gouache paint, while in the other you can be using a liner. You know, like, it's very easy to be able to switch between the two of them. But when you're using your sketchbook, when you're using a traditional media, you have to embrace that you are not going to be able to go back all the time. Some of that stuff is permanent, like marker, liners, all of that stuff is permanent. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it, is that you just have to accept the fact that it's not going to look perfect. You're not going to be able to go back. You're just practicing. Your sketchbook is your place to practice. And even if you're doing traditional media, it's like you're touching the paper, you're feeling every stroke, and it's just like this amazing experience. So I definitely felt nostalgic towards watercolor, which is like a weird thing to feel like nostalgic towards, like an art media, because it's like, you know, it's not really like a movie or like a feeling or something like that, but it's like the way I was creating with watercolor, like I felt nostalgic too. So again, I was very excited to use this set because I felt like this paint has so much potential and it holds such a special place in my heart. I knew I would be picking it up again once a nice set came along, which I guess this is it. Again, I also have very fond memories of creating original characters while using watercolor. So in a way, we are also going back to my roots, both in terms of art material and topic. For the past couple of months, I have been fleshing out some original characters, specifically fairies. I feel very nostalgic towards fairies and anything related to them. I grew up on Tinkerbell and Barbie movies, so these very much influenced my creation of these two characters. I still don't have them exactly figured out in terms of story, but I have the overall world I want for them and their personalities / designs. And the process of creating these original characters was actually a lot more complex than how I would usually approach the situation, because I was very inspired by Sketches of Shay, who has created these cowboy characters of hers, and I really enjoyed how she put all of this thing together. So I used her method of creating a Milanote board and putting all of my little notes for them, or like what I want for their personalities, as well as pictures I got from Pinterest that kind of inspired their overall design. And I actually created 2 portraits of them already, so I have all of those in there with sketches that I have made of them in my ugly sketchbook. So this way, when I keep working on them, I can just keep kind of adding onto this board and kind of keep referencing it, because I have a very hard time keeping like the anatomy and the face structure kind of the same. Like, even if you're looking at these sketches that I have done in my ugly sketchbook, compare it to the portrait that I have made of them, it looks very different. So I think this is going to be a great way of keeping myself be cohesive of these characters, as well as kind of like build on top of them, because I haven't really designed original characters in a long time, and I haven't really been drawing original characters in a while. I have my silly little characters, like my star and my moon and my cloud and sun characters. Like, I have all of that stuff, but those technically are not characters that I am seriously planning on fleshing out. And I know that when you're trying to go into certain areas in the art industry, such as publishing and just in general, I have seen that there's a lot of connection going towards other people's like original characters. Like, some people's entire social media is just their original characters, and these people love these original characters so much that they make fan art of them, you know? So it's this very special thing and community you can kind of create by making these original characters. And I also want to create a graphic novel for these two, so I can eventually maybe pitch it and have it published. I really just wanted to create something of my own, like not creating fan art and not just kind of just doodling whatever, you know, or making characters that kind of don't have a purpose or don't hold a space in my head. You know, I want characters that actually like overtake my brain. I kind of hyperfixate on them, and I kind of just want to build a story around them, a world around them. So this is kind of what I'm doing with that, and I definitely really think fully embracing yourself in characters is very important, especially right now, just so you have your own thing on social media. I feel like we really cater our art towards what people want to consume instead of actually creating something that we personally enjoy making. This high turnaround time of publishing your art, putting your art out there, you kind of don't have time to really sit down and sit with the things that you draw. So that's kind of what I would like to do with these characters, is sit down and actually create a project around them, actually like have them marinate, you know, have them be something that overtakes me, and think about them just as much as like I think about the books that I'm reading or the shows that I'm reading, you know, that I will be making fan art for. Like, I want these characters to be characters that I would want to make fan art for them. I want to draw all the time. I think the only way to do it is like really focusing on them and really sitting down and fleshing them out, like really taking them apart detail by detail and putting all of these extra special touches on them that makes them their own thing and makes them your own thing. That's why I think it's important for everybody to have a little special original characters of theirs, or just like create a character that you're excited to work with. And your followers and your viewers are going to be coming along with you, and you never know, maybe they're really going to enjoy them and they're gonna be so excited to see more of them and so excited to see how their story is going to develop. So this is kind of why I think it's important to create original characters. And here are my 2 brand new original characters that I have created just so I wouldn't go insane. The first character is Rosa, who is inspired by wild roses and butterflies. She is part of the royal court. Think Lady Danbury from Bridgerton. She helps the current queen in making decisions and takes care of matters. She has a very prim and proper personality, but she's also kind of vain. She cares a lot about her looks. That comes from the fact that she needs to look her best when she's in the presence of royalty, which is all the time for her job. I like the idea of plants and insects being intertwined in their designs, so maybe butterflies represent the royal court, while other insects are for other aspects of the kingdom. Rosa's design references this with her butterfly top, but she still has her signature flower colors and leaves as part of her clothing. For the flower, it will be the flower from their homes, as well as their parents. So while Rosa is a big part of the high society, that was something she had worked hard for, while the roses are more representative of a quiet country life. However, she was always jealous of fairies who were part of the luxurious households in the city. So I kind of imagine her studying and developing her magical skills and somehow connecting with the queen to help her. Again, similar to Lady Danbury. And in the end, making it all the way to the royal court, where she is the queen's right-hand woman. Nettle, on the other hand, is a protector fairy, which all poisonous and prickly plant fairies are. They guard the entire kingdom and its surrounding areas. They train from a very early age and have talents that both create and destroy. Protector fairies gain their signature plants after their training is done, where they connect with a specific plant that calls out to them, like when Tinkerbell got her tinkering talent by walking around all the talents. I imagine this ritual being very similar to that. So all of the plants would be set up for the fairy, and one of the plants would glow, and probably that would be the plant that they end up choosing. And maybe this ritual would also include kind of like a name changing ceremony where the fairy would change their name to the plant, because obviously in this universe, like, all of the fairies have names that are similar to their picked plants or flowers. So like Rosa would be from the wild rose, and Nettle obviously from stinging nettle. So I don't know if I would make it so they can decide to change their name if they want to, or if it's like part of the ceremony when you're becoming a protector fairy that you're gonna have a completely different name because you're kind of removing yourself from your previous self. Like, you're very isolated from all the other fairies and you are there to protect them. Like, you're not even supposed to form like any emotional connection to anybody because you want to make sure that you're protecting the kingdom and that's your main priority. By deciding to be a guardian fairy, you have to give up your original flower or plant, but most are more than happy to do so and are satisfied with this decision. Being a protector also provides you with powers that the majority of the fairies don't possess. You can grow prickly and poisonous plants to create barriers, as well as destroy non-native plants that can cause trouble in the kingdom. They learn to use weapons which they can alter using their magic. It can include daggers, archery, and swords. Protector fairies also have a deep connection with animals because they are not only keeping fairies safe, but the animals that cohabit the kingdom as well. So you can see guardians flying on ravens or riding badgers for long distances that their wings cannot handle. Nettle knew she wanted to be part of this fairy group from an early age, so even though she, just like Rosa, came from a quiet country life, was able to become one of the highest ranking fairies in the kingdom. Her design is obviously representing the stinging nettle, which is also represented in her wings with its sharp edges. While she has a very tough exterior, she's a huge goofball and loves making people laugh. Where the two are connected in the story is that they actually know each other when they were younger. I imagine them being early to mid-20s, so it would be around the time they were teenagers. They lived in the same town and went to school together, where they were academic rivals, always trying to one-up each other and thinking they are the better fairy. Then Nettle suddenly left to start her guardian training, which resulted in Rosa feeling jealous because she wanted to be a higher ranking fairy too and felt like she lost to Nettle. After multiple years pass, there is a strange sickness that is affecting the kingdom that is destroying the guardian's protective plans. Rosa, as one of the most magically talented fairies, decides to take on the journey to find a butterfly kingdom that has a special bulb that creates the power to grow a magical tree that can protect their kingdom. The queen pairs her up with Nettle, who is the highest ranking guardian in her squad, to assist her on this journey. Together they go through many different obstacles and meet all kinds of fun characters, as well as maybe catch feelings for each other. Yes, this is a love story, of course. What else would it be? I kind of imagine their dynamic being like Tinkerbell and Vidya, where they are bickering with each other and they cannot really stand each other, but they have to like work together and save each other, so they're like reluctantly saving each other. Like, for example, like Nettle is like super quirky and gets along with people very well. Rosa is socially awkward, so maybe Nettle is like helping her in like social situations. Obviously Nettle is a guardian, so she's saving her from all kinds of trouble. Rosa also can help like Nettle look better and be a little bit more reserved and talk to like royalty a little bit better, because obviously as like a soldier you're not really interacting with people other than like your friends. So I think for like humorous situations, Nettle would be handling them a little bit better, to be like a little bit more like laid back, while with more serious situations Rosa would be a little bit better talking to like court people or like dukes or something like that. In the Butterfly Kingdom, they would need to be representing a little bit better. That's kind of the dynamic I imagine them to be. I also think it would be kind of funny if it was like Gideon and Harrow from Gideon the Ninth, where like Gideon is kind of a goofball and doesn't really know what she is doing, while Harrow is like super stuck up. She's just like, don't get in my way, like I'm just doing my own thing, like I will get this done, don't worry. And I think that would be kind of the dynamic as well, because of course I am yet again including Gideon the Ninth as one of my inspirations for this. So yeah, this is as far I have in terms of how I want the story to go. I do want to make this like a full-on graphic novel one day that I might be able to pitch to agents, but for now I'm just having fun drawing them and putting them into different scenarios that might be part of the story. For this sketchbook spread, I wanted to have one side be more of a cluster of drawings with them and the other side a full scene. The left side, I decided to draw Nettle in her full form, which I actually sketched out before in my other sketchbook and wanted to color it really bad. This was the perfect opportunity to do so. I also painted Rosa in this beautiful butterfly dress that is inspired by Jean-Paul Gaultier, I think that's how you say his name, his butterfly effect dress. I imagine Rosa wearing this when she and Nettle finally reach the Butterfly Kingdom and they have to attend this ball. So they dress them up all nice, and this is the part where they start to really catch feelings for each other. And when Nettle sees Rosa, she's like awestruck by her. You know that scene in every rom-com movie where like the two love interests are like all prettied up and then they're just head over heels for each other? It would be something like that. I definitely want to draw Nettle's outfit for that as well. I just need to find some inspiration photos for it because I literally have no idea how it would look like. I also think they would maybe have their first kiss here or something, so I also drew that on the top, which is probably my least favorite part of this spread because it was kind of hard to color and then the paint was sitting weird at one point. But oh well, it filled up the space, so it's fine. And then for the other side, I did this illustration of them embracing, which I really enjoy how it ended up turning out, especially the faces. This would be like the final scene in the graphic novel when they are back in their own kingdom and the queen rewards them for their bravery. They would have a ball and Nettle and Rosa would finally confess their love for each other. It was overall such an amazing experience creating new characters and bringing back that joy of coming up with a story for them. This was truly a nostalgic feeling for me because when I was a kid, I used to come up with all kinds of stories as I was sitting in the car or hanging out in the garden, and being able to have the drawing skills to make characters as detailed as this now makes my inner child so happy. When you're younger, you don't know how to draw proper anatomy, or some of the characters look too much like the cartoons you're watching at the time, which to a certain degree is one of the loveliest things about OCs, that they're like a capstone in your life, almost like a diary story if you think about it. They encapsulate your current interests, such as media you're consuming, artists you like at the time, and just overall your personality. OCs can represent an alternative universe where you were a completely different person, or your aspirations as to who you wanted to become. OCs are such a special part of an artist's life because if they stick around, they grow and evolve with them. And if they don't, the artist can still look back at them and think of how different that time was when they created them. You need that kind of creation in your life, your own thing. As much as I love drawing fan art of my favorite shows, coming up with my own story and my own characters is crucial in my growth as an artist. It's what makes me stand out from the crowd. I want to be known for my own characters, not from drawing someone else's. I also think I have this mindset that I need to draw fan art to gain more followers or viewers, but even if I get those things, I feel like I lose myself and my art in the process. So I highly encourage drawing your OCs, whether it be new ones or old ones. It will transform how you view your art. I think it would be also cool to redraw OCs you made when you were younger and transform them, elevate them to something fitting of you today. Cherishing these characters is important. They were part of you at one point, and now they can take a new form and somebody else can take their place. All that matters is that they are your own. But that's it for me today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this sketchbook session. Thank you to Paul Rubens for this beautiful watercolor set, and if you would like one for yourself, I will have the link in the description below. And thank you for watching this video. I have some very exciting new videos lined up, and I'm going to try posting a bit more frequently, so subscribe if you would like to see more from me. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!